Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're discussing the second and final part of Rilke. He is a German poet, as I explained in the previous two videos. Make sure to watch those first. This is an English translation, so it is not perfect. We are going to talk about it in English, but the first version was German. In English, you'll notice it does not rhyme. On, gone, this is rhyme. Play, tray, this is rhyme. This does not rhyme. In much of modern English, things don't rhyme. So you might like Shakespeare. I don't like Shakespeare very much. I find that poetry for me is different in each language. In English, for me, I want poetry to be direct. Tell me directly what you're thinking. Don't try to get too fancy. But in Hindi, when I hear poetry in Hindi or Urdu, I love when it's fancy. I love when it's just crazy and colorful. But in English, I want things to be very direct. So there's different ways of approaching poetry, and you have different voices in different languages. So one thing I want to point out is English is a Germanic language. So let's look at this. The deep parts of my life pour onward. What is it in German? Und wieder rauscht mein tiefes Lebens Lauter. Tiefes. Tiefes. Deep. Tief. These come from the same word. Deep, tief. Leben, life. Mein Leben, my life. English is at its heart a German language. It is Germanic with French, especially French, some Latin and some Greek put on top of it. But at its heart, it is a Germanic language. So, if you listen to the first or the second video, you'll know Rilke is very contemplative. He thinks very deeply, but not hard, but very deeply. And there is a similar feel to this poem as to the last one. In the last one, he was in orbits, right? Orbits, going wider and wider, encompassing more of the world. He wants to know the whole world, but not just know the knowledge. He wants to know it deeply. And as he does that, he forgets kind of who he is. Is he a person? Is he a falcon? Is he a storm, a great song? He doesn't know. Rilke feels that when he looks inside, he sees the infinite. And actually, when he looks inside, he finds God. That God is part of him. So this might not fit your religious point of view, but it does fit many religious points of view. Sufism. As I look inside myself, I find God. Hinduism, the Upanishads. As I look inside myself, I find God. So this is why I say that Rilke is a little bit of the West, their link with some Eastern thought. And again, that's a problematic thing to say. It's not that simple, these divisions, but there is some difference. So in this one, he's not talking about orbits. Let's see what he's talking about. He says, the deep parts of my life pour onward. Dil ka darya behi gaya. The river overflows. What is this image? The deep parts. What things are deep? Water is deep, right? And water pours. If I turn this over, I will pour the water out, right? So now he's not orbiting in the sky like a bird. He is like a river. The deep parts of his life pour onward, as if the river shores are opening out, as if the river The shores are opening out. What happens when the river shores open out? Flooding, right? Every year in Egypt, the Nile floods. Every year, the rivers in India flood. Every year, the Yellow River in China floods. The Mekong floods. Now he is water. He is this river that it opens out and it starts taking things in. We've watched this in horror, like tsunamis that we've watched, where the ocean reclaims the world. It covers it. The deep parts of my life pour onward as if the river shores are opening out. So what is he doing then? It seems that things are more like me now. What does it mean? It seems, it's apparent, it looks like things, outside things, are more like me now. Und wieder rauscht mein tiefes Leben lauter, als ob es jetzt in breiten Ufen ginge. Immer verwandter werden mir die Dinge. Seems that things, Dinge. Dinge. In German, Dinge. Things. As the river pours out, it takes over the land and things become part of it, right? It seems that things are more like me now, that I can see further into paintings. Well, that's a big change, right? So first he's a river. Dilka daria behigaya. He's the river, and he's starting to pour outward, and he's taking more things into himself, right? Just like in the other, he was orbiting and taking more things into his orbit. But now he says, it seems that things are more like me now. The river has taken over, that I can see further into paintings. I feel closer to that which language cannot reach. So he's using this metaphor of the river as it takes over more land. But remember, he's talking about himself taking more of the world into himself. What is a painting? A painting is not just a picture. It is an image expressing what someone wants to communicate. Through paintings, the artist is communicating. He's communicating the history of art in his painting because he has a history behind him, or her. She has a history behind her as she paints, and she's expressing what she's thinking. She's challenging the world. The painting is a communication with the world, just as words are. This is what we sometimes forget. We think that art is to reflect something. It is in a way. You're reflecting a lot of things, but you're adding a challenge to the world. You're saying, I think this. You think this, I think this. It's adding a challenge to the world. That's what great art does. And he's seeing further into paintings. If he's seeing further into paintings, he's seeing further into experience. He can understand things more. He feels closer to that which language cannot reach. Language cannot reach a painting. You can describe. But also, this connects us to Eastern thought. What did the Buddha say? What does Shinto say? It says that our words are almost a trap. That we experience life and then we make up words about it. We make up a false reality. I make up the idea of who Alex is. Alex is a husband. Alex is a teacher. On this video, I try to present a certain reality to you, that I am a very worthwhile person that you should listen to, right? This is what I'm trying to convey. This is my narrative. Just like a story has a narrative, I am giving you a story. And I'm giving myself a story. I'm telling about myself. Oh, I'm a husband. I'm a good person. I'm really smart, you know. When we have hard times, this breaks down. When someone dies that's close to us, this breaks down. And we wonder who we are. Who are we? this breaks down and we wonder who we are. Feels closer to that which language cannot reach. Language is beautiful, but language is a trap because it's not direct experience. A book is not direct experience. The only thing we can directly experience really is ourselves. You cannot see inside of the heart of anyone else. You cannot feel their actual pain, but you can feel your pain. We are all, one poem says that though we're strangers still I love you. No, we are prisoners in these lonely hearts. We are prisoners in these lonely hearts. Even our children, we can't touch them inside. Maybe if there is God, maybe God touches us inside. I will not make a judgment out loud about this. This is for you to think about. Feel closer to that which language cannot reach. So he's not just trying to learn things by having his river shores open out. Oh, I want to consume this book and consume this book. He wants to get to the essence of life, to experience life. And experience, we have trouble putting that into language. That's why we have poetry. Poetry helps us to express the inexpressible, the non-expressible. It helps to do that. So now we get to the second part, and I will admit something. I have trouble with the second part, but it's an image. He's talking about things that language cannot reach. And so now he's going to try to describe his journey. With my senses, as with birds, I climb. As is comparative here, like birds. With my senses, what are our senses? Touch, smell, taste, and maybe even thinking, I can't think about it right now. He, with his senses, as with birds, actually it's not thought, is it? It's with his senses, not with language. Actual experience, meditation, tasting, smelling, touch. With his senses, as with birds, he climbs into the windy heaven, out of the oak, like a bird leaving the tree and going higher. And in the ponds broken off from the sky, my feeling sinks as if standing on fishes. Now, I don't know exactly what this means, but he's expressing something that language cannot reach. He's somehow rising and he's somehow sinking. In a way, this brings our two poems together. In the first, he was a bird orbiting. In the second, he's water that's deeper. One's going higher and broader, one's deeper and slower at moving out. Well, somehow he's going higher and he's going into the windy heaven as a bird. And then he finds the ponds broken off from the sky. What could that be? What about clouds? Clouds are water, and they're like little ponds. Ponds are like small lakes, broken off from the sky. We look and the clouds are kind of part of the sky, and they become these ponds, right? How would a bird sink into that pond? It would fly into it. We're turning the world upside down, where the bird is going down and sinking into the ponds broken off from the sky, sinking into the water, which is above us, which are the clouds. This is a spiritual journey. It is using language to remind us that language is a trap and try to get us outside of language. This is Rilke. This is Rilke. This is also Sufism in many ways. You should tell me, is this like Sufism or no? Is this like Shinto at all? No. Is it like Buddhism? Is it like Christianity? He was a Christian and he believed in it. But he also was broad about how he thought about being a Christian. So I hope you enjoyed this. These were very long videos, but how can you go slowly through this? In the future, I'm going to talk about where English comes from. It is a Germanic language with some other things on top of it. Just like Hindi and Urdu are the same. They have the same grammar, but they have different things on top of them. Okay? So I will see you next time. Make sure to hit the like button. If you like this, make sure to comment and subscribe. And hit us up on RJK English, and we can have further discussion. What are your favorite poems? What did you think of this? What did you get from it? I want to hear from you. See you next time.